My brother stood in my bedroom and told my girlfriend to dump me, right in front of me. Said she'd been wasting her time with a weakling, and if she wanted a real man, she knew where to find him. I should have seen it coming. All those times Sienna's phone buzzed and she flipped it face down. The way she laughed too hard at Damien's jokes during Sunday dinners. How she suddenly cared about my factory schedule. But I didn't. Not until I walked through my own front door at 3:52 p.m. last Thursday, 3 hours early because the equipment broke down at work. Heard voices from the bedroom. Thought maybe Sienna was on a call. Then I heard that laugh. The same one from when we were kids and he'd steal my bike or break my toys. That smug, everything belongs to me laugh. I'm Parker, 28. Work the morning shift at the assembly plant. My brother Damien's 32, sells medical equipment, drives a company BMW, and has that kind of confidence that makes people either love him or want to punch his teeth in. I've always been in the second group. Been with Sienna for 18 months. Met her at my buddy's New Year's party. She's got this smile that made me check my reflection before every date for the first 3 months. Marketing degree, perfect Instagram captions, the whole package. Sometimes I'd catch her looking at me like she couldn't figure out how we'd ended up together. Should have paid attention to that look. Now I'm sitting in a Motel 6 at 4 in the morning typing this with half my stuff in trash bags. 21 missed calls from her, texts begging me to answer, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I stood in the hallway like an idiot just listening. Parker's never going to get anywhere, Damien said. Same job 5 years, no ambition, no spine. Same voice from when we were 8 and he took my bike. Same tone that said everything I had was already his. I know it's getting old, Sienna said. He's sweet, but sweet's for cookies. You need someone who can take care of you, someone who knows what he's doing. I should have kicked the door down, instead I pushed it open. Wasn't even locked. Damien sat on our bed, not touching her. Worse somehow, they looked like two friends catching up. Sienna's legs crossed, leaning toward him. His arms stretched across my headboard like he owned the place. They both looked up. No guilt, just annoyed I interrupted. The hell is this? My voice cracked, already losing ground. Damien smiled. Hey little bro, thought you were working late. Equipment failure. I stared at them. Why are you in my bedroom? Sienna sighed like I was a kid interrupting grown-ups. We were talking, Parker, about you, about how this isn't working. So you discuss it with my brother instead of me. He actually listens, she said. He understands what a woman needs. Damien stood up, 4 inches taller, same as always. Look, someone needed to tell her the truth. You've been dragging her down. Better like you. You're engaged, remember, to Melling. He actually laughed. Melling understands how things work. We have an arrangement. Sienna stood too, arms crossed. This isn't working, Parker. Hasn't been for months. 18 months gone, so you two are. Nothing's happened yet, Sienna said. But Damien's right. You're never going to change. 30 years at that factory, calling it a life. Damien checked his Rolex. This is awkward, but man-to-man. Pack your essentials and go. Give her space. She's made her decision. Real quick, if you're wondering how bad this gets, hit subscribe. Trust me, we're just getting started. I grabbed my laptop, some clothes, photos of my parents. They watched the whole time, whispering and laughing. When my arms were full, Sienna tossed trash bags at me. Use these for the rest. I want your stuff gone by tomorrow. I filled the bags in silence. As I reached the door, Damien called out. No hard feelings, right, bro? You'll find someone more your speed. I drove around for hours, ended up at Mike's place. Next morning, rented this motel room, started going through my stuff. That's when I found the old iPad, still logged into my iCloud. The same account Sienna's phone backed up to because she wouldn't pay for her own storage. The backup had everything. Months of texts between them, started innocent enough. Damien asking how I was, Sienna complaining, then flirting, then planning. Taking Sienna's just a bonus, Damien wrote. Seeing Parker's face when he realizes he lost again, that's the real prize. They think I'm weak because I don't fight dirty. Never understood that quiet doesn't mean weak. By this time next week, they'll both be begging me to answer. 9 days since D-Day. 9 days of paper-thin walls and fortnight arguments at 2 a.m. 9 days of planning. This isn't about hurt feelings anymore. It's surgery. First thing I did was call in sick for 2 days. Needed a clear head. Created a Google Drive folder with every screenshot, every text, every photo. 5 months of evidence. One message from Damien stood out, like taking candy from a baby, or in his case, a girlfriend from a loser. LMAO. 4 a.m. and I'm still going through everything. My brother's engagement party is in 2 weeks. His big promotion with Uncle Edwin's company hits next month. Perfect life he's been rubbing in my face for years. The life he was willing to risk just to take something from me again. Not this time. That second night sleepless and wired on cheap coffee. I mapped out exactly what Damon cared about most: his engagement to Melon scheduled for next summer, his promotion at Uncle Edwin's company. Happening in 3 weeks, his reputation in our family golden boy. Since birth to break someone you don't go for what they have, you go for what they value. Made contact with Melon. First texted her saying I needed her input on Damon's bachelor party. Said I was thinking whiskey tasting versus brewery tour. She seemed surprised I was taking best man duties seriously. With everything going on, I played dumb. She didn't push it. Met for coffee at that overpriced place. She likes where they draw little pictures in the foam. Showed up 15 minutes early. Ordered a black coffee that cost $7. Worth it. When Melon arrived, she had that look people get when they're preparing to deliver bad news. Started with small talk about the wedding venue. Asked if I was doing okay. After the breakup, said Damon told her Sienna and I had grown apart and decided to end the mutual decision. Very mature. I nodded along, let her finish, then asked if she wanted to see what actually happened. Her face, when I showed her the first few texts, that slow realization, the color draining. She kept saying there must be some mistake, some context she was missing. I didn't push, just handed her my phone, let her scroll through it all herself, watched her wedding ring twist nervously around her finger. When she finally looked up, her eyes were dry, but her hands were shaking. Asked if Damon had done this before. That's when I hesitated, not because I didn't know the answer, but because saying it out loud felt like crossing a line. But Damon had crossed every line imaginable. So I told her about Jessica from college, about our cousin's friend at the lake house 2 summers ago, about his ex, who mysteriously became interested in his roommate. Pattern. Established. Melon left the coffee shop with my phone number and copies of everything. She didn't cry, didn't yell, just asked for time to think. Unexpected respect for her in that moment. Phase 2 required accessing our family photo cloud. Mom set it up years ago so we could all share holiday pictures. Nobody ever changed the password. Mom's birthday super secure. Found the folder from Thanksgiving 3 years ago when Damon brought his coworker Heather after telling everyone his girlfriend at the time couldn't make it there. They were arm in arm by the fireplace while his actual girlfriend was sick at home. Found the New Year's party photos where he cornered our neighbor daughter in the kitchen. The camping trip where he disappeared for hours with my friend's sister. Evidence. Pattern. History. Uncle Edwin was trickier. He's always seen Damon as the son he never had to be strategic. Called him on the pretext of asking career advice. Met at his country club on Tuesday after work. He ordered scotch, offered me one. I accepted even though I hate the stuff. Edwin started with the usual questions about my career trajectory and whether I had management aspirations. Standard Edwin talk. I let him go through his routine before steering the conversation to Damien's upcoming promotion. Asked if he was concerned about nepotism accusations. Edwin bristled, said Damon had earned everything on merit. Perfect opening. I mentioned hearing rumors about how Damon secured the Northfield account last quarter. Said I was concerned about my brother's reputation. Concerned as family. Edwin's eyebrows furrowed. Asked what rumors. I pulled up a screenshot I'd saved ages ago. Damien bragging to Sienna about taking credit for work his team did. Another about using company resources for personal stuff. Nothing illegal, just ethically murky enough to raise question. Edwin stared at the phone for a long time, finished his scotch, ordered another. By the time we select, he was asking pointed questions about other accounts. Damien handled whether I had more examples, whether anyone else knew seeds planted. Mom and invited everyone for Dinner Thursday night family tradition when someone's going through a rough patch, that someone being me supposedly hadn't seen Damon. Since the incident wasn't sure if he'd show, he did walked in 30 minutes late with bloodshot eyes and wrinkled clothes, hugged mom extra long, avoided looking at me. Dad asked about Melanie Damon. Said she was busy with work, his phone kept buzzing. He'd check it, frown, put it away throughout dinner. I was the perfect son. Helped mom with dishes, asked dad about his back problems, brought out the board games after dessert. Damon kept getting texts, kept getting more agitated. Finally, excused himself to take a call in the backyard through the kitchen window. I could see him gesturing, pacing. When he came back inside, his face was gray. Mom asked if everything was okay. Damon forced a smile and said work stuff, nothing important. Then shot me a look like he was trying to see inside my head. I smiled back, rolled the dice for my turn in Monopoly. By 10 p.m. Damon was a wreck, sweating, checking phone, constantly made an excuse about early meeting, and left abruptly. Dad commented that Damon seemed stressed. I shrugged and said something about the pressures of success. Friday morning, 5 a.m. First text from Sienna in over a week. We need to talk, please call me. Deleted without responding. 9:37 a.m. Text from Damon. Whatever you're doing, you need to stop. This isn't funny anymore. Screenshot. Saved, no response. 11:42 a.m. Missed call from Uncle Edwin. 1:15 p.m. Email from Melanie asking to meet again. 3:22 p.m. 6 missed calls from Damon. 4:00 p.m. Mom's text hit different. Do you know why Damien and Melanie are taking a break? Like it was some mutual decision, not like I'd blown up his whole life. I met Melanie at a diner near her place Saturday morning. She looked rough. Hair in a messy bun, no makeup, eyes all swollen. She'd confronted Damien the night before. He denied everything at first, she said, stirring her coffee without drinking it. Said it was just flirting, nothing physical. She laughed, but not like anything was funny. Then I showed him the messages, all of them. Suddenly it was one mistake, one time with Sienna. But Melanie had done her homework after our coffee, found other messages, other women. She'd already called off the engagement, just hadn't told the families yet. I'm not mad at you, she said. You saved me from marrying someone who would have made me miserable for the rest of my life. We split a plate of fries. She talked about losing her venue deposit, how her sister kept saying, I told you so, because she never liked Damien anyway. By the end, she actually laughed once. A real laugh. My phone buzzed. Damien again. Melanie saw his name. Her whole face changed. Take it, she said. Put it on speaker. I want to hear him now that I know who he really is. I answered like everything was normal. Hey, Parker, what the hell did you do? His voice was shaky, slurred. It wasn't even noon. Melanie returned the ring. Uncle Edwin's questioning my accounts at work. Why are you trying to ruin my life? I looked at Melanie. She nodded. Not ruining anything, I said. Just showing people who you really are. Same courtesy you showed me with Sienna. He started yelling, called me jealous, pathetic, said Sienna had been unhappy for months anyway. I hung up. Melanie was gripping her coffee mug so hard her knuckles were white. I was supposed to marry him in 9 months, she said quietly. We were going to have kids. She thanked me again. I drove back to the motel feeling nothing, empty. I'd won right, so why didn't it feel better? 4 days later, I was sitting in my car outside the factory, first day back at work. My hands were sweating on the steering wheel. Hadn't seen anyone since everything happened. Hadn't talked to Sienna since that night. Hadn't talked to Damien since the diner. My phone buzzed. New number. Mr. Parker, this is Detective Morrison. We need to talk about your brother. My phone kept buzzing. 21 missed calls. 17 texts. Most from Sienna, some from Damien, one from Uncle Edwin asking about the Damien situation. The latest text popped up while I was packing. Please answer, I made a terrible mistake. He lied to me about everything. Too little, too late. Mom called an hour ago. Damien showed up at their house drunk. Dad had to drive him home. She wanted to know what was going on. I told her I'd explain everything tomorrow. Bringing printouts. Letting her and Dad see who their golden boy really is. They called me weak, Turns out I'm just patient. This isn't over yet, that promotion's still on hold. Our extended family still thinks he's perfect, and I haven't even started on Sienna. Uncle Edwin called me into his office Monday. Same frown line as Dad, same finger tapping when he's uncomfortable. His office smells like leather and that lemon air freshener that's supposed to mean success. I've been looking into Damien's accounts, he said. Nothing illegal, but he's been taking credit for other people's work, inflating numbers, using company resources for personal matters. The promotion was officially on hold. Edwin looked genuinely disappointed, said he'd always seen himself in Damien, ambitious, outgoing, confident. Now he wasn't sure what he was seeing. I almost told him not to be too hard on Damien. The words were right there, ready to forgive like I always do. Then I remembered his laugh while I packed trash bags, remembered Sienna's eye roll, kept my mouth shut. Meline texted Wednesday, asked to meet for coffee, said she had something to return. We met at Dunkin' this time, less pretentious. Better donuts, she looked different, shorter haircut, new glasses, actually smiled when she saw me instead of looking haunted, handed me a small box. Inside was a watch, the one I gave Damien for his 30th birthday, saved up for months to buy it. When I went to collect my things, I saw it, she said. Remembered you mentioning how much it meant, thought you should have it back. We talked for 2 hours, not about Damien, about everything else. Her job teaching 3rd grade, my dream of restoring classic cars, the terrible reality show we both secretly watch, normal conversation I didn't realize I'd been missing. As I was leaving, she hesitated. Thank you for saving me from making the biggest mistake of my life. I was so focused on the wedding, I forgot to look at who I was marrying. I told her she deserved better. She said so did I. Heather, Sienna's roommate, messaged me on Instagram. Asked if I'd meet her to pick up some stuff Sienna hadn't thrown out. Said she was uncomfortable having my things in their apartment. Met her at a park bench during her lunch break. She brought a TJ Maxx bag with my favorite hoodie, some books, random desk stuff. As I thanked her, she blurted out, "She's been lying to you for months." Heather explained Damien had been coming over since January. Sienna planned to break up with me but waited until she had a better option secured. They laughed about me in their apartment. Then the kicker, Damien ghosted Sienna immediately after I left, blocked her number, told her it was just a game to prove he could take her from me. I don't get why you're not answering her calls, Heather said. She really loved you. She just made a mistake. I asked if she'd take back someone who laughed while throwing her belongings into trash bags. She didn't have an answer. Before leaving, she mentioned looking for a new roommate. Things with Sienna had become unbearable. Asked if I knew anyone looking for a place. I told her I'd just signed a lease for a new apartment yesterday. Old building, squeaky floors, but mine. No backstabbers included. She smiled. That's good to hear. Asked if I wanted to grab dinner sometime just as friends. I said maybe. Not ready for anything. Even friendship feels complicated right now. She understood, gave me her number anyway. Last night was the first family dinner since everything exploded. Mom insisted we needed to start healing. Dad grilled those chicken skewers he thinks are fancy because he uses wooden sticks. Aunt Cheryl brought her potato salad that always gives everyone heartburn. Damien wasn't there. When I asked, Mom got that tight look around her eyes. Said he was taking time to reevaluate his choices. Moved in with a friend after Uncle Edwin put him on probation. Dad asked about my new apartment's square footage like always. Aunt Cheryl said I looked healthier. Uncle Edwin mentioned a position opening up in his company that might interest me. It wasn't until dessert that Mom addressed the elephant in the room. We failed you both, she said. Damien by giving him too much. You by not seeing what was happening. I didn't know what to say. Just nodded and ate my pie. As I was leaving, Dad handed me an envelope. Inside was cash, enough for new furniture. It's long overdue, he said. Sometimes parents realize too late which child actually needs support. I tried giving it back. He wouldn't take it, said it wasn't charity, it was an apology. This morning I finally blocked Sienna's number. Before I did, I read her final text. I know you'll never forgive me. I wouldn't forgive me either. Losing you was the biggest mistake of my life. He never wanted me, just wanted to hurt you. I have to live with that forever. I stared at those words for a long time, felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just emptiness where 18 months of feelings used to be. Hit block, took a breath, finished unpacking, so that's it. The revenge is complete. The aftermath still ongoing. Damien's life isn't ruined forever, people like him always bounce back. But for once he's facing actual consequences. Lost his fiancée, lost his promotion, lost the golden child status. Sienna lost what she thought was a backup plan, then lost what she actually had. I lost an illusion, gained some clarity. Am I completely over it? No. Still wake up sometimes reaching for someone who isn't there. Still feel that humiliation when I remember Damien's laugh. Still wonder what was real in those 18 months. But I'm sleeping better in my new place. The water pressure's garbage and the neighbors have a kid learning trumpet, but it's mine. No backstabbers allowed. Asked Heather to dinner next week. Just as friends, taking it slow. Hung that watch melon returned on my wall. Reminder that some things look valuable until you see what they actually cost. Yesterday I ran into a guy from high school who always thought Damien was God's gift. Asked how my super successful brother was doing these days. I just smiled and said, he's going through some changes. Didn't elaborate, didn't have to. For the first time in my life, I don't feel like the lesser brother, don't feel like the weakling. Turns out the strongest people aren't the ones who take whatever they want. They're the ones who know exactly when to stop giving. So what do you think? Was I too harsh, or did they get exactly what they deserved? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to hear more stories about family drama and sweet revenge, hit that subscribe button.